Hallelujah. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Returning from the district of Tyre, Jesus went by way of Sidon towards the Sea of Galilee, right through the Decapolis region. And they brought him a deaf man who had an impediment in his speech, and they asked him to lay his hand on him. He took him aside in private, away from the crowd, put his fingers into the man's ears and touched his tongue with spittle. Then looking up to heaven, he sighed, and he said to him, Ephrata, that is, be opened. And his ears were opened, and the ligament of his tongue was loosened, and he spoke clearly. And Jesus ordered them to tell no one about it, but the more he insisted, the more widely they published it. Their admiration was unbounded. He has done all things well, they said. He makes the deaf hear and the dumb speak. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
The last line of today's gospel, He's done all things well. How can we square that with what happens with the Lord on Good Friday? He had done everything well. He had been so loving, so caring, curing hundreds, thousands perhaps. And yet, on Good Friday, they all turn against him. We can only explain it through the mystery of evil. And we see in the book of Genesis there that story of how Adam and Eve disobeyed God. Their hearts were not fully with him. And we can ask ourselves, you and me now, where is your heart? Is it 100% with Jesus? For me, it's a continual battle to try to keep my heart for Jesus, to be completely committed. Of course, you know the story about the hen and the pig having a conversation, and they're looking at a billboard with a plate of ham and eggs, and the hen says, well, you know, isn't that great that we are contributing to people's breakfasts all over the world? And the pig says, yeah, but you're just involved, but I am committed. Being totally committed to Jesus, to give him our hearts completely. Saint Scholastica's feast days today. She was the twin sister of Saint Benedict, and both of them saints. You can imagine living in that household. One would have to be on one's best behavior every day. But how proud their parents must have been to have two saints in the family. Saint Benedict, of course, who produced the rule, we're going back to the 6th century, produced the rule which is the basis of monasticism across Europe, the Benedictine rule. And Scholastica, a woman of tremendous faith and whose heart was completely devoted to God. So that's the struggle for each of us every day, to give our heart to God in every second, every word, every look, every action, that it is given over to the Lord. And what is the good result from that? Well, it is peace and joy and freedom, not to be trapped by all of those temptations which pull us away from goodness and from love and from truth and from beauty. Because the Lord wants us to experience goodness and love and truth and beauty fully. I came that you may have life and have it to the full. And us human beings, just like Adam and Eve, our first parents, can be trapped into doing our own will, which pulls us away from God. So we ask for the grace today to be humble. Just for today. Yesterday is over. Let's not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough worries of its own, Jesus says. And to live in his presence today fully. And indeed we ask Our Lady and St. Joseph in that. Amen.